Welcome everyone to the Ironhorse Pulling Team Garage. As you can see, we've got the tractor moved in here, and we've been doing a little polishing on the tractor with it sitting in the other shed. She got a little crusty and rusty and dirty and dusty. But we started a little bored last night, and just thought I'd kind of start cleaning this thing up. I had a couple people ask me what kind of polish I use. Because for example, on this tank, it had bird droppings and stuff on it, and it was stained. Even after I cleaned it, it was stained. So I got this aluminum polish here. Right there it is. You just wipe it on, rub it in a little bit, and let it dry and wipe it off. And be honest with you, that's what it did. Stuff works really good. I've been using that for about the last year. These are, like I said, I give people information that hopes to help them with their projects, to do stuff. I don't get any kickback, no sponsorship from none of this stuff. So, but that stuff really works. So if you're looking for a cheap alternative to buffing stuff, polished aluminum, stainless, that stuff there's the ticket. But yeah, you can see as these wheels here, boy, they really polished up nice. And I didn't work on it for more than about 5 minutes. So, kind of the situation on the motor. The block had, all it's got left to do is the O-rings put in the head, or I'm not sorry, in the block. We run the O-rings in the block and not on the head. We've got the head over here. We've been assembling the head. Been getting it put together. Also been polishing on it also. It's just like, it's a 5.9 stock Cummins head. We've had the intake milled off of it. I built this little intake manifold, and you can see that in my previous videos, and also the exhaust manifold. So we're there. We got the bearings all laid out, waiting for the stuff to get back. We ended up having 2 bad rods. One rod didn't look bad, but after they got a measure in it, it was all cattywampus and distorted, and they didn't think they could clean it up. So at least I ordered 2, and so I had the extra one to go to get a new set of rods. Pistons are right here. All they got to do is be cleaned up and put in, and they're ready to go. We got the camshaft laying over here. It's right here. We got to get the skier pressed on. Really, I've had people ask me, so what do you do with the camshaft? So this was a stock 5.9 Cummins camshaft, and then I sent it to a supplier, and that supplier has a specific ground for this motor. And they put it in their machine and they regrind it to their specs. Terry Blackburn has a spec he runs on these cams that works. It worked fine last time. We were going to go to a full roller motor, but the supplier that was going to build me the cam never got it done. So we just went back to a solid roller, regrind. When the motor malfunctioned, had nothing to do with the camshaft whatsoever. So, I mean, and after talking to a few people, even the diesel pickup guys are saying that they're actually getting better performance out of a solid roller with flat tappets for some reason than they do with the roller tappets and all that kind of good stuff. That just, it's simple. It's a lot more feasible. It's cheaper. So that's kind of where we're at on the tractor. We got the bell housing sent off. So new rules starting next year on this. So this tractor here, since as you see, a normal tractor would have a bell housing. This tractor has no cast bell housing. It has a plate that we welded or bolted to the rear end housing, and then we had these frame rails built, which they extend back to the rear end housing to give it good strength. And then we built a back place where the back of the motor sets in and it bolts in, and then at the front of the motor sits on these deals here. So when you do that, of course, you're like, what are you going to do with the clutch? How are you going to mount all that stuff? So to keep it simple on these Olivers, as you see this little thing right here, that is a single speed non-shiftable SCS gearbox. What it does is got gears in there, and we can change the ratios in that gear. And we still use the gears in the transmission, don't get me wrong, but we only really use one, which is road gear. And we can speed the motor, we can speed everything up in this box, which is a lot easier than tearing in that transmission and changing everything in that transmission if you ever want to change something. So that box there, that speeds everything up 30% going into the transmission. You think, God, that's a lot. So when we figured rear end speeds, we're figuring this one here is around 20 to 1 on this rear end here with the way this tractor's set up currently. So that means every 20 rotations around of the motor, these wheels turn one time, and that's how we figure ratios. When we do this, we run an SFI bell housing on this that bolts to, and it's got to be SFI'd, it's got to be certified. So every 3 years now, all the organizations used to be just run one forever and never have to have it checked, but now for every 3 years they have to be resent in, they have to be recertified, new SFI stickers put on them, and in order to use them, or you can't use them. They're not going to be legal. Your tractor's not going to pass inspection, and you're not going to be able to use it. So we just made the decision while the tractor's apart, just go ahead and get it done. Get the bell housing set off. We sent it right back to Pro Bell. They said they'd have it turned around in a week, and it would be right back. That way, that's one less thing we have to worry about to do for next year. Because hopefully we can just leave the motor in it and just go pulling next year. Versus, like I said, if we get this thing going, there's some things we want to do to this thing. I don't know if we'll get it going this year, but I really want to get an external oil pump put on it with an Avid with 3 stages on it. That's one of my goals, to get it in. Just it pulls the motor out of the oil pan through a front pump. You get a lot more volume. You can feed a lot more places in the block instead of just through the standard the plate. And like I said, you just get more oil going everywhere. And I think what we had the issue with was the back rod journals were starving for oil, and that's what smoked the bearings, and thus they spun, causing the catastrophic failure. There's a couple ports on the back side of the Cummins block where you can plug into them, and so you can feed the front of the motor and the back of the motor. So you try to hopefully keep that from happening. So that's some of the stuff we're doing. We're trying to build it right. Like I said, trying to make it better. That's all we're trying to do, is make it better. Build it right, because sometimes building it right the first time costs you a little more money, but it's going to save you some money up front. So a little update on the truck. It's still sitting over there in the back of the trailer. I'm going to pull it out here this evening. There's a car show here in Jefferson tomorrow night. We're going to take it up there after I clean all the oil off of it. We pushed the valve cover gasket out of the right side of the motor and just blew oil everywhere on the truck. So I got to do that. We're going to try one thing. We're only going to go to one more place this summer, and that's down to Guthrie Center, Iowa at the beginning of September, to try some other things. The motor, we just need a better motor. That's all there is to it. We'll get the compression up in the motor. But one thing we're going to do different this time. So the heads on this motor are older Dart heads. And at one point, Dart changed how they made their spark plugs. They're not really how they made their spark plugs, but what spark plug to use. So as you see here, there's 2 different spark plugs, and they're really quite different. And the length is a lot longer. So this is the one here we've been running, this one right here. I don't know, we really had no issues with it, but the thing around 5,500 RPMs, we can't get it above 5,500 RPMs. It will not go upstairs any further. It starts missing, it starts acting funny at 5,500 RPMs. We just can't get it to go upstairs. It's just like it's either flooding the motor out or something's happening to it. We put a tack in it with a memory recall, and that's kind of how we've been figuring out this whole mess. Trying to figure out what's going on with it, why we can't be competitive. So what we're going to try to do, what I've talked to some guys, these heads are older Dart heads. So some of the first Dart heads, as you see, this plug here, it's a lot shorter. There's no gasket on it, and it's got a tapered, I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of like got a tapered seat to it. They call them peanut plugs. We're going to run these plugs. We're going to try them. We're just trying everything. We're trying everything to see if, hey, maybe we can get a few more RPMs out of the motor. Was a plug in the head too far? Maybe these plugs are too short and they're not going to work at all. But when I look down in the heads, it looks like they take peanut type plug heads. And this is what everybody's telling me that they should use for plugs. So we're going to go to this plug. And that's all we're going to do this motor this year. I'm going to probably take some fuel away from it. to see if we can get some more upstairs RPMs with leaning it down. I mean, we're at the point now to where we got one pull this year, and if it goes, if we burn a piston, we burn a piston. It ain't a big deal because it's getting all new pistons in it. And then we're going to stay with everything else. We're not going to spend any money just because of the rule situation in that class right now. We are kind of up in the air on what we can do. So a lot of these new heads require special pistons and require a lot different setups. So we're just going to throw some different pistons in it that'll work with these heads that are on it. We're not going to spend a lot of money on it. We're going to go out and we're going to try it again next year. And if it doesn't work next year, we'll go to plan B or C or D or whatever. But that's what we're going to do. The class it's a fairly cheap class. And you know, you're not pulling for a lot of prize money. And we have to travel so far to pull in that class. It gets a little old, just going around wasting fuel all summer long and not even getting any gas money out of the deal. But that's just part of pulling. We know that. So we're going to just select where we do. But hey, hopefully here in another couple weeks, we'll have the motor set in this thing. And we'll be shooting some more stuff here. If there's any questions you have about this thing, shout out to me. And hopefully we'll see you at the end of this year with this. If not, excuse me, we'll have it out next summer. We'll hopefully plan a big next summer with both vehicles running all summer long. That's the plan. So have a great one. Take care. We'll see you later.